Hello and welcome to Coffee with Craig. Today we're going to talk about a topic that's been in the news a lot lately, in particular with what occurred in Sutherland, Texas. And it has to do with something we actually discussed last week, but it's still in the news, so I thought you guys would want to hear a little bit about it. But it has to do with the idea of firearms in church and whether or not firearms either should be allowed in church or whether or not people should be encouraged, if they have a concealed carry permit or the ability to exercise their right to bear arms, whether open carry or concealed carry, whether or not they should bring it to church. In fact, one of the things that was noted in the what occurred in the church in Texas was that some folks probably just didn't feel comfortable bringing a firearm to church because they figured, church is where you go and that's where you pray and that's where you seek peace in this world. Well, the problem is that when you have a place where an individual knows there are not firearms, well, then that's exactly where the individual is going to seek to go, because their whole goal is they don't want to be confronted by somebody. They want to have as many victims as possible. And an unarmed individual, to a large degree, is much more likely to be a victim. But in upstate New York, there is a church that is actually encouraging their parishioners to come to church armed. There's a big sign out in front of the church. It says, "We are not a gun-free zone." Now, this is outside of Lighthouse, Mexico, Church of God, and it's in Oswego County. It's about 30 miles north of Syracuse. The pastor there, Pastor Ronald Russell, says that he's been allowing firearms in their house of worship largely ever since the white supremacist Dylan Roof went into the church in Charleston in 2015. He's not only been allowing it, but he's in fact been encouraging it. They make sure to note, even on their website, that they are not a gun-free zone. What he notes in his article is this. He says if they don't allow people to defend themselves, well, then they are part of the problem. They are actually help perpetuating it, because he knows that gun-free zones attract mass shooters or attract individuals who seek to inflict that kind of terror on individuals. So it does two things. One, it allows individuals to be able to defend themselves and know they have a right to defend themselves. But the other benefit of it is that it lets people who are looking to perpetrate these crimes, they're going to know that this is not a church that I need to go to. Because if I go to this church, there's a much greater likelihood that things are not going to end the way that I want them to. Now, there are other pastors who are actually looking to try and protect their ministry by providing active shooter training. And here's an example of one such pastor.
Massacre, a local pastor wants to help protect and prepare members of his congregation. Buffalo Common Council President and Pastor Darius Pridgeon says he plans to have professionals come and do active shooter training during each of his church services next Sunday. He says he's received several calls from other church leaders wanting to do the same. Pridgeon tells us people need to be prepared in the wake of this tragedy.
It's not about, whether we need guns in church or weapons in church, but what are the simple things that members are to do? Are they to stay in the building? Are they to get up under pews? It's simple things that could save a life.
He also wants to have active shooter training in the council chambers, both for council members and the public. He will share his ideas with the Common Council tomorrow.
So it's a noble idea. He talks about it's not about whether or not you should have firearms in church or you should allow firearms in church. But what I didn't hear was the sort of things like, situational awareness, how to make sure to protect your individuals. Things like, one of the number one things that I learned as an usher at my church was, a lot of times the sooner that you engage with people, the better. Both it makes people feel more invited when they're coming to your church, but also it lets them know that you're paying attention. So imagine if you decrease the likelihood if you engage these individuals, for example, in the parking lot. someone saying hello. Have your greeters outside the church in the parking lot. Have someone watching the outside of the church. So, little things like that. And then the idea of, look, what if you do have individuals in your church who have concealed carry permits? Or what if you have individuals who have the ability to who have firearms training? Why not talk about how to utilize those assets? Because they are, in fact, assets, especially if they are included as a part of your active shooter training or actually active shooter response plan, right? Part of making sure that you don't become a victim is to make sure that you're prepared, right? And knowing what to do is a big part of it, but also is having the right tools to do it. And one of those tools is a firearm. Just my 2 cents. Anyway, folks, you take care. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoyed having you for coffee. Make sure you share these videos, share this video in particular. And once again, enjoy the rest of your day. Have fun and stay free.
If you like our videos, follow, subscribe, like, and share.